differences like hand in glove. Peace, joy, beautiful sight. Together we shine in each other's light. And I stand in love's pure mind. Watching the world in love and light. Hearts beating on a peaceful flight. Colors harmony, pain and night. Now we stand in love's pure mind.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in and good afternoon to Watching the World. We have quite a few things to discuss today. In fact, recently we've been covering the Donald Trump, how he's having the National Guard in Washington, D.C., because there's so much crime in the area. But when you think about it, there's a lot of crime that's happening throughout the United States and quite frankly, everywhere. How do you guys feel about that? Where are you located? And do you think that the National Guard should come to a city near you? Let me tell you what happened last Sunday. We were traveling around Mount Vernon, headed toward New York City, and one of the parkways was shut down, closed pretty much throughout the day. Lo and behold, we found out what happened, and it was quite sad, I must say. A young lady by the name of Ariella Polanco, I think she's an associate of a rapper by the name of Tekashi 6ix9ine. She lost her life potentially right there off of the parkway, although we're waiting for more details. But we're going to cover that. We're going to get right into it to find out what actually happened with her. The first story that we're going to cover, sad to say, involves her incident.
Tonight, many in the hip-hop and nightlife communities are mourning the death of 33-year-old Ariella Polanco. She was shot dead Sunday morning while driving alone in her car on the Cross County Parkway in Mount Vernon. Tony Aiello has more now on the murder of this social media influencer.
The vibrant colors of a memorial display outside Opus Lounge in Inwood, where 33-year-old Ariella Polanco worked as a hostess. She was also an influencer with 500,000 followers on Instagram, some stopping by to pay respects.
I'm very heartbroken. Just Pat coming now is very...
It seems like in the recent time, we're seeing more and more YouTube influencers and so forth, Instagram, losing their lives in terrible ways. In fact, this young lady, she worked at the Opus in New York City. It seems that she also had an additional job and she was just on her way home from a night of working.
Knowing that she had her 2 daughters, very sad.
It really hurts, Dominican, very beautiful. Such a thing like this, very, very sad.
The club posted on social media, New York City nightlife has lost an angel. Opus Lounge was closed on Monday night out of respect for the victim. Polanco was shot dead Sunday morning while driving alone on the Cross County Parkway in Mount Vernon. In March on social media, the victim showed off this luxury SUV, which appears to be the same vehicle she was driving Sunday. Her body found in that vehicle not far from 42 Broad, where she rented an apartment. Polanco also owned a large home in the northern suburbs. Friends and family there declined comment. The victim was a close friend of the controversial rapper and former gang member known as Tekashi.
It looked like she was doing really good in life, at least financially. She had 2 homes. Also, she had 2 wonderful children, and somebody came along and just snuffed her life right out.
6ix9ine. He posted on social media his love for the victim, whom he featured in a 2023 music video. Westchester County Police are reviewing the victim's movements, activities, and relationships as they work with the Office of District Attorney Susan Cacase to build a murder case against whoever is responsible. Tony Aiello, CBS News, New York.
Okay, so the more and more that I see these incidents, it definitely makes me more happier when I hear that there's a crackdown when it comes to violence, especially in the United States that we live. It seems that also in New York, there's been so many crimes happening right here in our neighborhood, especially in local towns such as Poughkeepsie and Newburgh. Where are you guys located? Let's see if anybody commented in regards to that. Also, we have a few new names here. Zoloma Miller, hello to you. Okay, Sharon is here, always here. Thank you very much. We have Eric Bordeaux, and also everybody in the audience. Wish Deborah a happy birthday. She's recently celebrated her birthday. I believe it was one day last week. We're going to keep moving. The next subject that we're going to cover is in regards to Pam Bondi. She is going to target the blue cities, the sanctuary cities, when it comes to the illegal immigrants. They're really trying to crack down on it. So let's get to it. Let's cover what's happening in regards to this story as well.
Have you back. All right, before we get to the guy, well, this is just breaking. This letter that you have signed and now apparently sent out. I know this has happened in our nation's capital, and I guess the police chief or the mayor or somebody there, you know, had been telling police officers, the Metropolitan Police Department there, not to give up people that are in the country illegally. I thought we had a supremacy clause in the Constitution.
Sean, we do. DC will not remain a sanctuary city actively shielding criminal aliens. Will not happen. Under Donald Trump's directive, DC will become safe again, and it will become clean again. And I think what's happening is it's a combination of an extremely divisive city council. You have liberal judges, you have no cash bail, as you said, you have juveniles running rampant over this city, and you have a Metro Police Department. They want to do their jobs. And we have been out there for the last few nights with all of our federal agencies, Sean.
Folks, in a lot of these cities, you can't even pump gas without there being some incidents. We covered about 2 incidents in the last week where individuals were shot while pumping gas. Isn't that sad? Also, yesterday we covered the incident that happened at Walmart where an individual just started randomly stabbing other people.
They have been working so hard, working together. We've made 156 arrests. 27 firearms have been seized. Child pornographic material has been seized. Over 200 fentanyl pills taken off the street. A homicide suspect with a firearm. And we are going to protect DC and make it safe again. But, you know, I think the most impactful thing that's happened, despite what we've seen with these crazy protesters out there, citizens are coming out of their homes and they're going up to these law enforcement officers and they're thanking them for keeping them safe and making the streets safe again. An elderly woman walks up to law enforcement and thanks them so she can go to the market again. So they are seeing the impact of what our law enforcement officers are doing under Donald Trump's directive, and they're going to continue to do it. We're going to work hand in hand with state, federal, local officers, and we're going to make DC safe again.
Fundamentally, when you have a sanctuary city or a sanctuary state, aren't you, by definition, aiding and abetting?
I live in a sanctuary state, New York. What about you guys? Do you live in a sanctuary city as well?
In the law breaking.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are protecting them and not allowing, even though the federal government would have jurisdiction constitutionally, are you aiding and abetting? Are these politicians that are purposely hiding illegal immigrants or not informing or working with ICE, are they themselves guilty of crimes?
Well, and what they're trying to do, they're trying to protect criminal aliens. And what's going to happen if we keep this up? Criminals are going to flee to DC, and we're not going to let that happen. And that's why, at my directive, we have made Terry Cole now the commissioner over the police. We have made Gaddy Serralto my U.S. Marshal. He runs the entire show, keeping everyone organized, and they report directly to me, and I report to the president.
Now, remember, because New York is a sanctuary city as well, they started busing up illegal immigrants from Texas by the busloads. In fact, I believe they were trying to fly up certain individuals as well. And even though I live about an hour and a half out of the city, they started to flood the local area with a lot of illegal immigrants that they had staying in hotels. And the crime rate was increasing. It's the real facts. It's the truth. When you look at it, But a lot of people protested that, but Donald Trump made a big difference as he shut it down when he became president.
In the United States. So yes, you must comply. You must give the information to our ICE, to our Homeland Security officers. If they have information of an illegal alien living in DC, they must give us that information. And we are going to stop crime, Sean, in DC, and we're going to clean it up in this country. And President Trump is committed to that. No longer is that going to happen in this beautiful city where our tourists come, where our residents live. We all live here. We are going to keep it safe. And it's our nation's capital. It's beautiful, and it's going to be beautiful and clean again.
Now, I'm not a fan of everything that Donald Trump does. I will say that, but I'm definitely with cracking down on crime and a lot of the terrible things that are happening because people just don't know how to behave themselves. In fact, you see a lot of young women and children being abused by individuals that just don't have any regard for life. And I'm glad to see something being done about it.
Okay, let's focus and dial in. So DC, sanctuary city, LA, sanctuary city, San Francisco, sanctuary city, New York City, sanctuary city, California, sanctuary state. What does this mean in reality for all of these locations, municipalities, states moving forward?
They must comply. Yesterday, I sent out 33 letters to mayors around this country. I think 3 or 4 of them were in California alone, not surprising. I sent out letters to all of these mayors and to the governors saying, you must comply. We want to know what you're doing to comply with our federal government. So we're going to see, I'll let you know how they respond. They have 5 days to respond to me.
Okay.
So you can see they're coming after the sanctuary cities. It'll be intriguing to find out how this develops on a local level.
Let me move on, and I want to ask you about this incident where the DOJ employee charged with felony assault after hitting this federal agent with this Subway sandwich. May not sound like a big threat. What a lot of people may not be thinking of, an agent being assaulted like that, they have no idea what is being hurled at them. And this is now going to be charged as a felony. What message is the Department of Justice now sending people that are attacking agents this way? And what do you say to the people that are tipping off illegal immigrants?
Well, we're coming after you.
Now, this wasn't a homeless person that did this, that attacked the agent. It was actually someone from the Department of Justice. So it goes to show you can't just go around stereotyping people, right?
We've made that very clear. And that guy worked for the Department of Justice. Unbelievable. He came into our office every day, walked by law enforcement officers, worked in the criminal division. That's the deep state that we have been up against. Worked in our office, yet at night, he went out and did that. No longer. He's now a felon, charged with a felony, and he's fired from the Department of Justice. If you touch a law enforcement officer, if you spit on a law enforcement officer, if you batter a law enforcement officer, we are coming after you. No longer will you abuse the great men and women of law enforcement.
So here you have a person working for the Department of Justice in the criminal division acting like a thug. Isn't that something, folks? You can't just go around judging because anybody is capable of doing anything. Let's get to a few of the comments here. All right. We have Reverend Greenback says, there's more illegals moving in my neighborhood. There are no foundationals moving. It's getting weird. Oh, my. We're going to definitely send some good energy your way. Hopefully you can be okay if that's what's happening. Sharon says, we've been having a lot of gun shootings in parts of New Jersey lately. Yes, you know, Sharon, I was in New Jersey about 4 weeks ago, about a month ago. And literally, as we're driving down the street, you see people frozen in time, taking drugs. One lady actually was shooting up a syringe. I could not believe police officers just passing by. I guess they had major things to deal with, but they were not concerned about individuals just on the street using drugs in front of children and everything else. David Titch says, release the Epstein files. The date of the release is all I want to hear about from this woman. Exactly. This Friday, they're releasing the files. We covered that yesterday at lunch. So we're going to see what gets released on Friday. Maybe they're going to show everything, but we already know it's going to be heavily redacted. So, of what benefit will that be? And also, it's being released to the House, okay, to the House representative. James Byington says Epstein files. Everybody want to know what's going on with Epstein files, folks. Reverend Greenback says Connecticut is a sanctuary state too. Okay, we're neighbors. We're neighbors. First Amendment says convicted felon Donald J. Trump and Bondi are using distraction to keep us away from the Epstein files. She speaks like a great fascist. Elect a clown and expect a circus. It's all good until they come after you. Great point. Eric says a lot of my friends back home in LA say living in Los Angeles is like the video game Grand Theft Auto. No fear of authorities. They just don't care. It's actually getting out of control. It seems like each generation begets another bad generation. Mark OLG says, release Epstein files. No matter what we cover every day, everybody wants to know what's going on with Epstein files. Reverend Greenback says Bondi needs to legitimate on forbidding landlords from renting illegals. Okay. Pop Collector says they're prepping for civil war. Wow, do you really think so? Okay, that's very dramatic. Eric M says, wake up, Boston. Okay, very good. Now, recently, there's also been an incident.
We're going to stand.
Let's see if we could find it here. There's been an incident in regards to, see if I could pull it up. In regards to Letitia James, you know, when Donald Trump in his previous administration and throughout this administration, he took on a lot of heat from the Southern District of New York, including Letitia James. So now it seems that Donald Trump has turned the table on her. So we're going to take a look and see what his intentions are. It seems that some of the Department of Justice were at her house because they're coming after her for mortgage fraud. They're saying that she lives here in New York, representing New York State, but on her mortgage application in Virginia, she said that she was having her primary residence there. So they're trying to really come after her. Let's take a look and see what's happening with that.
So, following new video obtained exclusively by CNN, it shows the director of the DOJ's weaponization working group, Ed Martin, posing for photos outside of New York Attorney General Letitia James's home last week. All of this after he called for her resignation and is currently conducting investigations into her conduct. CNN's Kara Scannell is following the story for us. Kara, an unusual move.
It is unusual, Boris. Usually you don't see a prosecutor who is leading an investigation going to visit the subject or the potential target of that investigation. Ed Martin was recently put in charge of the investigations into New York Attorney General Letitia James. There's an investigation looking into whether she committed mortgage fraud, and also an investigation that is looking into her civil lawsuit that was brought against Donald Trump, his adult sons, and the company. And you can see here on this video, Ed Martin is there with a colleague from.
So the prosecutors are going after Letitia James, and can you imagine they show up at her house and they're taking pictures? Notice they use the word weaponizing. So it's quite obvious what's happening here. A lot of what we're seeing in the political world, they're just coming after each other. They're using the political system or the legal system just to take shots at other individuals.
The Department of Justice, he's outside of Letitia James's home, and he does pose for a photograph with him, pose for a photograph outside of that home. Now, he was on Fox News on Sunday, and he said that he was there because he had had meetings in New York and New Jersey, and that he decided to go by the home. He said you have to lay eyes on it, and also saying that you got to get a sense of what is at stake. But as you can see there, that's very unusual for a prosecutor to be there. And Letitia James's attorney, Albie Lowell, has pushed back. He wrote a letter to Ed Martin yesterday yesterday, in which he highlighted this unusual visit to Letitia James' home, which they say is an intimidation tactic. He also pointed out that soon after being appointed to be leading this investigation, that Ed Martin called for James's resignation, and then also went on Fox News on Sunday and said that he wanted to look into every aspect of James's life, which some people would call a fishing expedition. So Lowell has said that, were there any doubts as to your political retributive mission? You erased them in your first statements about your appointment.
A lot of people perceive this as a way of getting back at Donald Trump. So they're going after Letitia James, holding her to the fire because she was in turn accusing him of fraud. And now they've dug up fraud allegedly with her name, and also not only her, Adam Schiff. They are going after Adam Schiff for mortgage fraud too. They're also trying to charge him with treason in connection with the whole Russia scheme. Also, in regards to Barack Obama, Donald Trump has turned his attention to Obama. They're trying to say that he's guilty of treason as well. So we see this tug of war going back and forth throughout the legal and political world, and it's sad to say.
When you stated that your assignment is to, quote, stick the landing. A responsible and credible federal prosecutor is not a pommel horse gymnast. Now, I've spoken with other former federal prosecutors who also say that these moves are highly unusual, and it could have real world implications. If the grand jury were to return an indictment, this could be something that Letitia James' legal teams could use to argue to the judge that the jury pool has been prejudiced and that this was a selective prosecution. Of course, James has been criticized herself for campaigning on saying that she was going to investigate Donald Trump. She does have that court victory in the civil lawsuit where a judge has ordered Trump to pay $500 million. We reached out to.
So she had a big victory against Donald Trump, over $400 million that he scuffled to come up with the money. I'm sure you guys remember that. So now they've turned the tables on her, and we'll see what's going to happen. Did you guys hear what's happening as far as Ozempic? It seems that a lot of celebrities, a lot of people are taking it because it helps you to reduce your weight. Obviously it's great to do the exercise, and not everybody can do that, but Ozempic has been used and a lot of doctors have promoted it. But did you hear what's happening and why they're being sued for over $2 billion? It appears that people are losing their eyesight over Ozempic, and I'm pretty sure you've seen all the celebrities that are taking Ozempic too. But anyway, this is all alleged. We're going to see what's happened here. Let's dig into it.
Welcome back. More than 40 complaints of eye disorders linked to popular weight loss injections are now being investigated by the National Medicines Regulator. Research has found a link between sudden vision impairment or even blindness and the active ingredient used in drugs like Ozempic. Semaglutide can cause reduced blood flow to the optic nerve, which then can lead to damage. The Therapeutic Goods Administration has not approved the diabetes drugs for weight loss.
All right. So you see what's happening there. People are actually losing their eyesight because of Ozempic. So we'll see what happens if people continue to take it. But this lawsuit seems to be enormous, especially stemming out of New York City as well. So we're going to keep tabs on that, letting you know what's happening. We're going to get to some of the comments before we move on to some of the other stories at hand. We have a lot of comments here. All right. Thank you for your patience. Okay, let's see who we have here. We have a lot of comments. All right. Connie Adams says, excellent. Okay. NO5X says, arrest Boston Mayor Wu. Okay. Deborah, the birthday lady, says, my goodness, there's a pattern of unhealthy behavior here. Okay, definitely is. A lot of that. Dante says, P. Diddy is gay. Okay, well, that's a little bit off the subject today. Dee Lynn says, oh, poor. He showed up at Trump's house ablazing. Okay, who did that? Explain it to us. Questioning is living says, who watches CNN other than people with no intelligence? We get that statement all the time. We cover news from all sources, so bear with us if you don't like it. Jacob says, who cares? Okay. Cassandra says she weaponized first. Okay, explain that to us. How did she weaponize first? Benja says MAGA weaponized the word woke. So what y'all crying about? Nobody's crying. We're having intelligent conversations here. Deborah Thrill says there's a pattern of behavior here. One reveals the other. Yes, indeed. They keep going back and forth. Debbie says sore losers. Tell us who the sore losers are. Benja says, why is Mag always crying? Y'all are winning. Exactly. Adam Block says, this hurts their case against James. Any intimidation tactics would do that. Yes, indeed. They could use that in the trial proceedings if it goes that far, especially if she is indicted. Benja says, Musk and Trump are friends. Y'all fell for a grand scheme. Ha, ha, ha. So they're playing everybody. Okay, that's what you feel like. Eric says, not allegedly. They have actual proof. Okay. Major Kramer says, Epstein list becomes public is the day I start snorting cocaine. Okay, so you don't think it's going to happen? Doug Willis says, Trump, 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 baby. Okay, we have a lot of Trump supporters here. James says, you fell for it if you voted for him. Speaking of perhaps Donald Trump. Chad says, if Trump wasn't in the files, he'd have released them by now. Great point, great point. James says, admitted to you were scammed. Okay, Trump supporters perhaps. Poll Collector, welcome back, says both sides are rigged. I believe so. It's quite evident. Vicky says, hope this administration gets all the bad players from prior administrations. Okay, I think that's what they're trying to do. And every time the administration changes, we see them going back and forth. Adam Block says, correct. If there's a case against James, then these tactics would only delay any possibility of trial. Great point. Benja says Obamacare wasn't rigged. Okay. Debbie says, I will vote for President Trump again any day. So you're very happy with him. Poll Collector says it's not about the left or the right. It's about the poor and the rich. I believe that. I think there's a lot of truth in that. Frank says it's an appeal. Okay. Thank you, Frank, for that background knowledge. Benja says Obamacare is good for Republicans, still can't get rid of it. Ha, ha, ha. Doug says Democrats are reaching for everything they can because they know they've been busted. They've been caught. They're pathetic losers. Okay, he's not happy with Democrats, folks. Eric says these powerful people tried to hold power, and that's all that comes to starting with Clinton. Okay. James says the U.S. is about to collapse. No more empire. Thank you guys for all the comments. Keep them coming. Gold Digger says good morning. Good morning to you, Gold Digger. It's always nice to have you here as well. Now, we have quite the epidemic here or down in Texas. You know, we have an attorney on every Sunday. He's from Texas, Calvin Johnson. He's a criminal defense attorney. But we're going to get into a story that's happening with the Democrats, and you have a Democrat that's allegedly can't leave the building. She's sleeping on the floor. Let's get to the story to see what's really happening and why the Democrats are in an uproar.
State in protest of Republicans' new congressional maps. One representative says she's now unable to leave the floor. State Representative Nicole Collier must remain in the state capitol after Republicans required Democrats that fled the state to sign off on a law enforcement escort in order to leave the capitol at all. She refused and spent the night on the House floor because of it. Joining us now from
She can't even go home, folks. What's happening in America?
the floor of the Texas State Senate, State Representative Nicole Collier. Representative, thank you for joining us. And I recognize that because you're on the State House floor, the video might be a little fuzzy, but we're glad you were able to join us here. The other Democrats who fled the state with you signed a document saying that they would have a law enforcement escort until votes tomorrow. Why wouldn't you sign that?
Thanks for having me on, Allie. You know, I at the moment that the directive was issued, I felt like it was wrong. It's just wrong to require grown people to get a permission slip to roam about freely. So I resisted, I objected, and the only way I knew how, and that's to resist.
You've been there now.
Remember in school, you had to get a permission slip or have a hall monitor escort certain people or what have you. She's saying that's how the government is working in Texas, folks.
Now, almost 24 hours. You posted a photo of yourself trying to sleep at your desk. How long are you going to stay?
As long as it takes. I mean, This is the fight that all of us have in resisting, the end of our democracy, basically. I mean, if we continue to let them take our freedoms, we won't have any.
Do you guys think this is the end of the democracy coming, or is this just fear mongering? Tell us what you think.
To protect. We won't have any to defend. So we got to start and we got to stop and we got to push back.
When you talk about the pushback, this all comes after Democrats, including you, pushed back by leaving the state during the first special session to stop the Republican redistricting plan. What made Democrats decide to come back, and what was earned by slowing this process down, given that the maps are now on a glide path in this second session?
Sure. About 2 weeks ago, no one knew the word gerrymandering, but because of the work of the Texas House Democrats, gerrymandering is a household name. We have been able to stop this first special session, and now we're continuing to fight through a legal battle on the floor. But in that process, we have seen Governor Newsom take action in California to neutralize the maps that are being proposed in Texas. So they are fighting fire with fire. What's different now is that, typically they say, take that high road. Well, that high road has crumbled. We're on a dirt road, and we're going to meet them on that dirt road and get down and dirty just like they are. And so my fellow Democrats are ready to continue the fight with the grit that is necessary to challenge the oppressor.
And yet these newly drawn congressional maps are most likely going to pass. So what are the next steps for you and your fellow Democrats? And, I'm struck by what one of our reporters who has been all over this story on the ground in Austin said earlier. He was talking about the palpable politics of this moment. And he said Republicans have really dropped the pretense here that this is about anything other than notching seats for Republicans. And they're
A lot of people feel like the Republicans are worried about losing House seats for the midterm election, so they're trying to change the rules, folks. What do you think? What do you guys think? Let's get to a few comments here. We have Ryan Dubin says democracy is not even part of the Constitution. Okay, all right. Mashona says, so what happens if she tries to leave? Did she try to leave? Okay, that's a good question. Monica says, coming, we are already full-blown fascism. Okay, thank you for your comment as well. Mr. Duggan says, that was totally legal, blocking her in there, read the law. Okay, so that was legal. Thank you for your comment. Thank you, guys. Please hit the like button, share, and subscribe. We do this every day. We cover hot topics in the news, so thank you very much for all your participation and so many comments. It's hard to keep up, but we're trying to cover as many as we can within the lunch hour. Shirley, welcome in. Shirley Machard says, are you all happy with the waste of tax dollars spent on? Good question. Answer her question in the comments, folks. And also don't forget to participate in the poll. Answer the question. Let us know how you feel. CRXR, welcome back. I always appreciate seeing you here every day. Says, LOL, the Democrats locked us down in our homes, censored our speech online, and mandated experimental vaccines. All right, so he's not happy with the Democrats. Gob says, this is political theater. She can obviously go home anytime she wants. Okay, so she's just trying to be heard. Okay, thank you for that expression. Shirley says, lawyers for Trump. Okay. James says Republicans know they are finished. Okay, it's almost over for the Republicans. It's almost over, folks. Okay, Nuts and Chocolates is back today. Let's see what great comments you have today. They are not going to release the files. Too many Israelis are on the list. That's a common thing that we're starting to hear, but we know that that's a subject that if you talk about it too much, you just might get canceled. Shelby Minier says, yes, end of democracy, bring back our constitutional republic. Okay. They're definitely changing the game now with the new administration. Lou Becker says, I'm a gay black man, go Trump. Okay. So we have gay blacks for Trump. All right. Eric says, sad teacher, can I get a hall pass? These are adults, not kids. Exactly. Right. Treating her like a child. Deborah says, I fear the feeling of civil rights, Mel. We fought for rights that are being dissolved. Yes, a lot of things that have been worked so hard for are definitely being dissolved, and I'm not sure how it's all going to end up. Shirley says, the stink of Epstein will never leave Trump, the criminal king. Okay, Trump is a criminal king. That's the first time I've heard it phrased quite that way. Terry says, Democrats are destroying democracy. Terry Halka, thank you so much. Thanks for your participation. Thanks for liking, sharing. Thank you guys for continuing to come back and hit your notification so that you know when we go live each day at lunch, and you can participate. And also, if you'd like to submit your own video, your own news for us to consider, or if you're trying to get a message out, you could send to our email, watchingtheworld777@gmail.com. We'll be glad to hear from any of you trying to get a good message out. Gob says, name a civil rights you are losing. Go ahead, I'll wait. Okay. That's the response to someone that said that earlier. Okay. Jeff says, fear mongering. I remember Democrats gerrymandering 60 years ago. Now, remember her statement. She said they did not hear about gerrymandering until 2 weeks ago. So you said all the way back to the 60s. Thank you for that pushback. All right. Nuts and Chocolate says they are not going to do anything. Whatever the Israelis want, they're going to get 90% of the Congress is Israeli. Wow. That's an interesting concept. All right. So we're just going to finish this video up, and then we're going to touch on two other subjects before everybody get back to work or to their day.
Doing so in midstream, basically, less than 18 months before the November midterm elections.
Absolutely. We have families in Hill Country, Texas, in the Hill Country who need relief from the tragic floods that happened on July 4th. They have made they're not hiding the fact that they don't care. In fact, they want to put this politics over the people that have been harmed by the tragedy of the floods. And they are ignoring the request of the families who actually came to the Capitol and asked them and pleaded with them to provide relief. Instead, they want to feed their own political ambition and do what.
I like that. She said, put politics over the people. They don't care about the people. They're just worried about the politics. What do you guys think? Do you agree with that? All right. We have two regulars back to back. Gear Jammer says, praise the orange man. Orange. Okay. Gear Jammer is a big time Trump supporter. Poll Collector is back as well. Says democracy was left behind many decades ago. It's an act of the rich put on to keep us asleep. You just haven't realized it yet. People don't know what their strategy is. Okay, thank you for your comment, though. Mashona says, welcome in and thanks for joining the conversation. Did you remember to hit the like button on your way in? Please like, share, and subscribe and support the channel. Thank you so much for everybody that has been supporting the channel, especially by hitting the like button. We're definitely growing because of each and every one of you. Shelby says, simple, get in line with the citizens and win the new seats. Okay, we have to go and vote. That's what Shelby is saying. You have to vote, people. We can't just sit back and protest or not get involved and just expect things to change. You have to get out and vote.
Trump has directed, and so I hope that other legislators would find the courage to stand up and say no, and that they are going to represent the people that elected them to do their job.
Texas State Representative Nicole Collier, I'm glad you brought up the flood relief because that is another key piece of this special session. Thank you for coming on and talking about it all with us.
Okay, so that covers that, and she's talking about the flood relief. It seems that a lot of things are coming down the pipeline very slow, the things that people really need. Bruno says, depends if you live in Texas. Okay, is that where you live at, Bruno? Tell us where you're at. Gob says, what people are working on up to is how much the Democrats gerrymandered and the hypocrisy of it all. And let's not forget them importing 20 million new people for new districts and votes. Okay, so you think they were bringing people into the country just to get them to vote for the Democrats. Okay, thank you. Nakia is back. Thank you. Nice to have you here. Good to see your name here today. Bruno says she will be arrested if she leaves before her day is done. Okay, so we have conflicting stories here. Some say she can leave. Others say no, she can't leave or she'll be arrested. So we'll have to see we'll follow that some more. Now, in the news, we have this story here. I just want to touch on it briefly. It's involving Tamar Braxton. It says that she almost died 2 days ago, was found in a pool of blood by a friend. So what's going on with people, especially celebrities? But we're just going to touch on a few points if you haven't heard about it. We're not going to talk about this long. But Tamar Jackson revealed she suffered a serious accident on Sunday. And it says the Let Me Know singer took to her Instagram stories to share that she was found in a pool of blood by a friend and she almost died. What's going on? She wrote that she had a fractured nose, lost some teeth and mobility, and can't even really talk. So there's not a lot of details about this. I'm just going to breeze through her Instagram statement just to show you the predicament of people nowadays. She says, I struggle to write this, but everyone keeps calling me, and honestly, I can't even really talk anymore. I'm so weak. I almost died Sunday. I was found in a pool of blood by a friend with a face injury. So I wondered, did she get hit or did she fall? There's not a lot of details. Almost, it's definitely a way to get attention, though. I'm not saying that against her, but it does get our attention. As the days go by, the worse it gets. I fractured my nose, lost some teeth and mobility. The way I look at life now is totally different. As my health is on the mend, my mental journey begins. Pray for me, for real. I don't even know what happened to me. So she don't even know what happened to her. So this is something that's really pumping this morning in the media. So I figured we'd cover it. I don't follow her too much, but for those of you that know who Tamar Braxton is, she wants a prayer. All right, here's another big story that's happening right now. Do you guys have shrimp from Walmart, perhaps? It says Walmart recalls frozen shrimp over potential radioactive contamination. What is going on in the world? Not only do we have to worry about crime, we also have to worry about what we're eating from these big companies, and I'll say allegedly. Accordingly, this is coming from Walmart. Now, briefly, I'll just cover a few points of this. Walmart has recalled frozen raw shrimp sold in 13 states because federal health officials say it could have potential radioactive contamination. I'm just going to go down and tell me if you're in one of these states that you have to worry about Walmart shrimp, folks. It says Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Missouri, Mississippi, Ohio, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Texas, and West Virginia. So down in Texas, not only do the individuals have to worry about not being able to leave the house floor, but you also have to worry about the Walmart shrimp. You also have to worry about Ozempic. And right here in New York, apparently people are being unalived on side of the road. Just a lot of things are going on, but we're just covering what's in the news and also giving you guys a chance to voice your opinion. Deborah says, could have been an accident, maybe. Okay, that's in regards to Tamar Braxton. Okay, that sounds plausible. Stick says, Deborah can't answer me, has lost no rights. Okay, not sure what's going on there. Monica says, that's like the battered women who have a black eye but claims she fell. Okay, so would really like to know what happened. She doesn't give any. In fact, she says she doesn't even know what happened. Was someone with her? You know, there's a lot of questions. I always wonder when people don't tell you the full story, but they put it out on the media. Like sometimes on Facebook, I'll see a lot of friends says, oh, pray for me, but don't ask me what's going on right now. And you're just left like, okay, what's happening here? Nuts and Chocolates is back again, says that's those marble floors in the kitchen and the bathroom. That's how the actor bust his nose. Okay. You think it was a fall for Tamar Braxton? Okay. Monica says that doesn't sound like an accident. It sounds like someone beat her up. At first glance, that's what I thought. Sounds pretty weird. Not sure, though. Stick says, I'm not picking at Deborah. Just asked a question. Okay, that's a private message, sort of a deal. Steve C says the Dems are just mad because they already gerrymandered all their states to the max. They have nothing left to do. Well, they're trying to do that in California, so I think they're still at it. They're still trying to change it. Okay, Nuts and Chocolate says she's attractive, but not sexually. That's a good look in the workplace. Okay, all right. Mike says the Democrats have gerrymandered their blue states as much as they possibly can already. At that point, you bring in the illegals to increase the census, to increase your seats. Thank you, Mike, for that explanation. Good explanation. Stick says that's the real problem with libs. If list is released, they've been crying about months. That's not the real list. Okay. So do you think there's a list or not, Stick? Tell us what you think. Remember, Bondi and Donald Trump said there was a list, then there wasn't a list. Now they said there is a list, but it's a hoax from the Democrats. So which is it? Tell us what it means. Sarah says, while their own country can help them. Okay, good point. Sharon Godbolt says, IMO. I tend to agree. It seems like politics over people. Exactly. That's a good slogan. Definitely people are not concerned about their neighbors anymore. All right. Daniel Williams says maybe she could have a blackout. Okay. She could have passed out and did all that to herself. That's a good conclusion since we do not know what really happened. Stick says, libs, get on here, talk crap, and can't back it up. LOL. Okay. All right. Thank you for your comment. All right, folks. Well, that does it for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. We covered quite a few stories. Our heart go out to the local girl that Ariella, I believe her name was, who lost her life. They just basically found her on the side of the highway, not too far from where I live, maybe about an hour away. They didn't say if the vehicle was struck by bullets or if she was just found in the vehicle, but nonetheless, she was on side the road. And that's someone's daughter, someone's mother, someone's sister, cousin, friend. It's a shame all the crime that we're having, but hopefully we can address this in so many different ways. But I think people need to learn to behave and show love to their neighbor. That's the real idea behind this. Okay, thank you to Eric. Thank you for all the support. We have Michona Bordeaux. We have great moderators. Deborah, thank you guys for showing up every day and giving us so much support. Nikki, definitely have a blessed day to you too. Reverend Greenbacks is always here. I'm going to be definitely reaching out to you guys pretty soon. Okay, thank you so much. We have Sarah. Thank you, Sarah, for coming in. Fate's come, always here. Thank you so much. Hope give our regards to your wife with what she's going through. Thank you so much, folks, and we'll definitely catch you tomorrow back at noon with more hot topics about the news. We're not trying to be biased. We're just having civilized discussions. We're having a meeting of the minds about subjects that we hear about and are quite concerning. So thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Different voices, but the same song. Loving a world where we all belong. Kindness leading the way, breaking the chains. In the symphony of love, the flame remains. Embracing diversity, brighter days in sight. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. Colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might. Watching the world sharing love and light. Hearts beating as one in our peaceful flight. The colors of harmony, painting the night. United we stand in love's pure might.